Okay, let's talk about October 10th, 2025. This was the day the crypto market just imploded. In only a few hours, a catastrophic event that traders now call the 1010 crash literally vaporized billions of dollars. So how on earth did it happen? To really get it, we're going to have to dig into the high-speed mechanics, the high-stakes blame game, and maybe most importantly, the lasting psychological wounds this thing left behind.
You know, to really understand the scale of this collapse, we have to start with the human side of it. For the traders who were caught in this storm, it didn't feel like some random market move. As one of them wrote, the whole system can feel like it's designed not just to take your money, but to completely shatter your confidence, to just rewire how you see risk. And that feeling, that it's personal, that's at the absolute heart of this whole story.
And look, that fear, it comes from a totally shocking reality. At the absolute peak of the panic, at exactly 21:15 UTC, this is how much money in leveraged trading positions was wiped out. Not over an hour, not even over 10 minutes. We're talking about a single brutal 60-second window.
By the time the dust finally settled, the total damage was just staggering. $19.3 billion in forced liquidations. This wasn't just a bad day at the office. It was one of the largest, most violent deleveraging events in the entire history of crypto.
So that just begs the question, right? How is a collapse this fast, this destructive, even possible? It wasn't just a bunch of people panic selling. No, this was a machine. It was a system operating at a speed we humans just can't process, and it was built on a few core, really dangerous principles.
So it all kicks off with something called a liquidation cascade. The best way to picture it is just like a row of financial dominoes. When one big leverage position gets automatically sold, that sale pushes the price down just enough to knock over the next domino, which triggers the next trader's automatic sell-off, and then the next, and so on.
Okay, so as this domino effect starts picking up speed, the market safety net, the order book, it just evaporates. All those buy orders that are supposed to be there to catch a falling price, they get pulled by traders, by algorithms, they just poof, disappear, leaving absolutely nothing to stop the free fall. And this is where you get this absolutely vicious feedback loop. The liquidation cascade causes panic, right? That panic makes the order book evaporate. Well, an empty order book means every single forced sale has a huge impact on the price, which in turn triggers even more liquidations. Each problem just feeds the other, creating a total death spiral.
But you know what's really terrifying here? The speed. Just the sheer velocity of this collapse. Data shows that during one critical 40-minute window, the rate of liquidations accelerated by 86 times. The system went from being a manageable fire to an absolute inferno, almost instantly. And here's the kicker. Here's why it got so out of control so fast. In that exact same 40-minute window, 98% of the visible liquidity, all those buy orders that were supposed to cushion the fall, disappeared. The floor didn't just crack, it completely dropped out from under the market. There was nothing but air below.
So after everything burned down, a multi-billion-dollar question started to bubble up. Who was to blame? And two completely different stories started making the rounds, each with massive implications.
All right, so first up, you have the official line from Binance, the biggest exchange in the world. Their story was that this was a macro-driven event. Their leadership basically argued that some geopolitical news spooked all the global markets, and crypto was just one of the victims. In their version of events, it was not a failure of their platform.
And to back this up, they point to the wider market. I mean, look, they say, while crypto lost about $19 billion, the U.S. stock markets lost a mind-boggling $1.5 trillion on that same day. Their argument is pretty simple. This was a global tsunami, and they were just one boat caught in the storm.
But was it really just a big, unavoidable market shock? Well, a lot of traders and a growing pile of lawsuits tell a very, very different story. They believe the damage wasn't just some unavoidable collateral damage, but that it was directly caused by catastrophic failures inside the system itself. The heart of their argument boils down to a series of alleged failures by the exchange, and the most serious one involves what they call negligent oracle data. So an oracle, what it does is it feeds real-world information, like asset prices, into the trading engine. They accuse the exchange of using corrupted data that made a stablecoin, USD, look like it was worth just 65 cents when it was actually holding strong at $1. They claim that single piece of bad data was the first domino that kicked off the entire cascade.
So what we're left with are these two realities that they can't both be true.
Was this an unavoidable global shock that nobody could have possibly prevented? Or was it a preventable internal failure that put the entire market and billions of dollars at risk?
Beyond all the money and the crazy mechanics, the real impact here is human. The psychological fallout from an event this violent can be so profound, it can change how people interact with markets forever.
Experts in trauma psychology have a way of explaining this. They say that a sudden, dramatic financial loss can act like a genuine psychological wound. It can physically alter how our brains process risk and trust. It's like the memory of one terrible day leaves a scar that dominates every single future decision you make.
And it's not just a feeling. Academic studies actually show that high-frequency crypto trading can have many of the classic traits of a behavioral addiction. Things like compulsively trading even when you're losing money, or feeling intense anxiety and even depression that are tied directly to how the market is moving.
And when you look closer, the parallels to something like a gambling addiction, they're really striking. The high-risk, high-reward nature of it, the illusion that you're in control, that compulsive need to constantly be checking prices, the underlying mechanisms driving the behavior are remarkably similar.
And all of this, it leaves us with one last, really big question. We've built this financial system that operates at the speed of light. It's run by algorithms that have no emotions, and yet it's still driven by us, by human fear, greed, and panic. So in a world of automated finance, is our own psychology the one bug in the system that can never truly be fixed?